Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about some grid down tips to get you by. And this is going to cross over into a couple of more recent videos I've shot. But the reason I'm doing this particular one is because back in 2020, I had shot like a series of these, like a 3-part series. And in at least 2 out of 3, I mentioned a substance that is no longer allowed to be mentioned on the YouTube platform. So I needed to remove those videos and then just figured I'll just shoot one video to cover the first 2. And basically what it is just going over a few things to consider, to either have on hand or know how to do in the event that some crisis happens and you can't get to the store or whatever it is. So just a few things to get you by. Now, if you're watching me on Rumble and you would like to know what the unmentionable substance is, I will be putting a link to the full Rumble playlist on that in the description box down below. So all you got to do is go check that out. I show how to make it and so much more. So let's start off with, this is the one people are going to be most squeamish about, but I find it very important, is you learning to do more things with cloth rather than paper, something that is reusable. Now, a lot of people don't mind using cloth table napkins, and I have a video on how I make mine. My most recent batch I made out of all linen. They're my favorite ones. Even if you don't have a sewing machine, this is something you can easily put together, or even just take some old flannel fabric or linen chunks and use some pinking shears to cut them out. They're still going to fray and be a little rough around the edges, or even t-shirt rags in a pinch. Those aren't going to look as pretty, but they'll work. They'll work in place of paper napkins as well as paper towels. Now, the next part is the part that I'm talking about people being more squeamish about, and that's going to be, if you're a female, making your own cloth feminine napkins. Now, before I even stopped having my cycle, I had already got into making them, and as I remember, I was really nervous about it, but from the first day I used them, I never wanted to ever go back to the disposable kind. And I used them all the way through the remaining years of my cycle. And these can also, if you're in your older years, can still be used as just that added protection, because you ladies know what I mean. So then the other thing some people will be even more squeamish about, and this one took me even longer to fully get into, is using cloth in place of toilet paper. And I did end up having to take down a couple of my previous videos I did on this because of, again, the unmentionable substance that I use to disinfect them with. And I like to use flannel myself. I take flannel chunks, cut them into 10-inch squares, and now I've gotten into the habit of at least doing a single fold hem around the edges to help them last a little bit longer. You can hem them, you can use pinking shears, you can use t-shirt rags, some people choose to just go down to the dollar store and buy a set color so they don't get mixed up with kitchen rags of dish rags and use those in place of toilet paper. And that's what I use for everything. And I love it. It's just as soon as I made that change, I hate having to use toilet paper. And the care of them is far more simple than you might think it is. I keep them separate from all other laundry. I wash them together using my own homemade laundry detergent, which is another thing that I recommend you learn how to do. You can do it with just a couple ingredients or all 3. I use salt, baking soda, and washing soda. And I'll link to the video I did on that a few years ago. I still use it. I love it. It's cheap. It's super easy to mix up. But just understand that even though I said sea salt in there, that was simply because I had the sea salt on hand. It was a really cheaply bought many years prior. I still am working through that sea salt because I bought 100 pounds of it from Glory Bee for $8 for a 50-pound bag. You can't find it that cheap. but any cheap salt that you have. It does not have to be sea salt. But anyway, I just use that. A lot of times I'll throw in some of my own homemade vinegar to make sure I'm removing all odors and just adding more to the cleaning factor of it. But most of the time I don't even do that anymore. But if I had to, I would just use my homemade vinegar and use that alone and feel very comfortable with doing that. And wash it on the hottest setting I can, and then I hang them to dry. So yes, going with the switching to all cloth has saved us so much money. And it's just, I don't have to worry ever again about running out of toilet paper. Now, the next one I wrote down on my list is stocking up on herbs and spices that you know are going to be good to help with colds and flus and other type sicknesses and anything else. It's really, really simple. I mean, especially since a lot of this stuff can be done with culinary herbs, a lot of that you can grow on your own, even if you live in an apartment. If you got a good south-facing window especially, you can just grow some of these herbs in a pot indoors if you have to, or even if you have a little space out on a deck or patio somewhere, you can grow them in pots. There's a lot of herbs that will do amazingly well in pots. And so I have a couple of videos out. One is some natural antibiotic herbs. One is on natural antivirals. I'll link to both of those down below. I did just recently have to reshoot both of those anyway. So you can go through that list and kind of decide what you think will work best for you to either stock up on or to grow in case you need them. A few other things. Again, this is something that I recently brought up in a separate video, not realizing I was going to have to reshoot this one, but I'll bring it up again in case you missed the other one, and that would be things such as activated charcoal, diatomaceous earth, and bentonite clay. Activated charcoal in particular is really good for helping if there's any kind of accidental ingestion of some toxins. That's going to help just flush all that out of your system. Bentonite clay is especially good at binding heavy metals and then carrying them out of the body. And then diatomaceous earth is also very cleansing in many ways, some similar, some a little bit different. Though I don't have a video on the activated charcoal yet, I do have one each on the bentonite clay and on the diatomaceous earth. And then another one I would recommend stocking is castor oil, because it has a lot of great benefits itself. The next thing, and this is an obvious thing, is learning how to cook and bake. I did talk about that in Building Your Skills. That video I did on that was actually a live show. But it is important to build some skills, especially just the very basic skills. Learning how to cook and bake if you're not already doing that. And then along with that, learn how to make things like vinegar. That would be one of the things that people wouldn't really think about so much, but vinegar is so easy to make yourself. You can make it out of any kind of fruit or vegetable scraps that you want, as long as they're edible. Same thing with any kind of herbs. And any of that can be either fresh or dried. I only recommend don't use frozen goods to make your vinegar with. But as long as you have some kind of natural plant-based material, and you have some sugar, and you have some good clean water, you can make vinegar. I have lots of videos on this, but I'll link to my most thorough vinegar making video down below if you would like to learn. But the reason I keep bringing up vinegar is because of its many uses. Like I said earlier, in being able to wash clothes. You can take it internally to help with digestive problems. You can make salad dressings. Vinegar is used when you're making your homemade mayonnaise, which I also recommend you learn how to do, which is also very, very simple with just a few ingredients. Vinegar can be used to clean floors, to wash windows and countertops, to help disinfect. And I use homemade vinegar for washing my hair with, just like I did today. It's the number one thing I use to wash my hair with. On an occasion, maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks, I will use a little Dr. Jacobs Castile soap and dilute it way down with some water and then wash my hair with that. But I still follow it up with vinegar, and then it always gets rinsed out. I don't leave the vinegar in my hair, for those who are wondering. but it is cheap and it is very healthy for your hair. So that's why I always come back to the vinegar making. And if you haven't learned it yet, that I think should be one of the first things you learn how to do, because it's simple and it has so many uses. Now, another thing I recommend, even though I love Dr. Jacobs soaps, it's a liquid soap very similar to Dr. Bronner's, but I like Dr. Jacobs better. You'll always find them linked in my description box. By the way, my current favorite ones are the Lavender Clary Sage and the Sensual Manoi. They just have that one's very tropical smelling, but they both have a wonderful scent. And I'll use them on my hair, I'll use them on my face, but I also make my own homemade bar soap. And I have lots of videos on this. I'll link to my soap making playlist down below, which I don't think is over on Rumble. So if you're watching on Rumble, sorry. Eventually, maybe I'll try to get those soap making videos over there. And if by the time this publishes, I do happen to have them over there, I'll make sure I link to that. Otherwise, it'll be my YouTube link. You can make soap with just 3 ingredients: water, lye, and fat. That's all you need. And if you're making your own lye and then it's in liquid form, then you only need 2 ingredients: lye and fat. Those are the 2 things that make soap. And no, you cannot make soap without lye. That's a common question. But yes, you have to have that. But once you get over the fear of working with lye, sodium hydroxide, and just understand being careful, right? Practice using some safety, like I describe in my videos. It's actually, once you do it the first time, it's actually kind of addictive, and it's so fun to make your own soap. And you realize it's nothing to be scared of, just like pressure canning. It's just learning how to be careful. But even if you aren't interested in learning how to make your own soap, then you should probably be stocking up on soap. It's a necessary thing, because even if you, I always mention Dr. Jacobs because it's so easy to use in so many ways. There's different ways you can dilute it. Like you can use it to wash your hair with. You can use it to wash your dishes and even your laundry with. The amount of dilution is going to vary depending on what you're using it in. Like I highly dilute it for my hair. For using it as a foaming hand soap, I dilute it by 1 part soap to 3 parts water. And that seems to be the perfect ratio there. But you can use it to clean your floors with, and so much more. So stocking up on a liquid soap like that might be the easiest thing to do, but you can still stock up on bar soap or use your own homemade bar soap to make liquid soaps by just adding the soap, cut it up or grate it and add it to water, and then just heat it and stir it until all the soap is totally dissolved in the water, and now you have a liquid-based soap. I don't remember the ratio, but somewhere in the soap making playlist, you'll find one I did quite a few years ago on making your own hand soap from your own homemade bar soap. So either way, soap is going to be important. And a few other things would be like knowing that you have some off-grid ways that you can deal with different things, especially like with cooking or keeping yourself warm or even keeping yourself cool. Whether it be doing things by hand or having the proper equipment on hand. Mostly what I'm trying to focus on in this particular video is things that don't necessarily have to cost a lot of money and are easy to obtain if you do have to buy them, or easy enough to create yourself. So just things to consider there. I do also have a video on off-grid cooking options, a couple of different videos out there now that I'll link to one of them down below. And then one other point that I have written down here is also learning how to recycle all kinds of things, so like coming back to the cloth things, you can take old flannel shirts, old flannel sheets, old clothing, even denim. You can save that old denim that's got holes in it. If you don't want to patch it, you can then use it to make all kinds of stuff. I have a series on upcycling or recycling items that I'll link to down below if you'd like to learn more about some various different things, like recycling t-shirts, recycling jeans, recycling flannel fabrics of any kind. And some I didn't even cover them all because I forgot a few things in a couple of those videos, but some of the many ways that you can recycle all these different items, and just getting some good ideas there. But not even just fabrics like that, but also things such as your kitchen scraps. You know, obviously, if you have a garden, composting things. But even if you don't have a garden, you can, like I mentioned earlier with the vinegar, you can use kitchen scraps to make vinegar. So many times I've used banana peels. Banana peels can make a great vinegar. Apple peels and cores, peach peels and pits, mango peels and pits. I have made vinegar out of so many scraps like that. So I'm getting the most out of all that produce. And then things like eggshells, coffee grounds, all that stuff can be used as compost, really great for your garden. And both eggshells and coffee grounds can help deter slugs in some places, not in our place because we have very tenacious slugs. But in most places, a lot of people find those things will work to deter slugs from the garden. But like the eggshells, you can grind them up and use them as a mineral supplement because they're high in calcium, potassium, magnesium, manganese, and I try to remember to take them every day, just like a teaspoon or so full. I usually now, instead of making capsules, just add it to juice or water or even a shot of vinegar and just drink that down, and then I'm getting the vinegar supplement and the eggshell supplement. And I always notice the difference in my teeth when I'm taking those eggshells. When I'm not taking the eggshells and getting that properly balanced calcium and magnesium, I notice my teeth will start to turn gray or appear to because they're losing so much. They're not getting all those minerals in there. And especially if you're a postmenopausal woman, then you're going to see that even more so. So making sure you're getting a proper balance of those minerals back into your diet is really going to help your teeth and your bones throughout your whole entire body. Because if it's happening to your teeth where you can see it, it's happening to the rest of the bones throughout your body. And so, yeah, you can just clean up those eggshells. You can even, if you're worried about salmonella, then just after you rinse them off really good, bake them in an oven at 200 degrees for 10 minutes. That's all you need to do to kill salmonella, and then grind them up and then use them however you need to. So that's a super cheap way to get those necessary minerals, again, in their proper balance, into your diet. You don't have to go buy supplements for that. And of course, the other like scraps, like onion peels and different things like that, you know, just the celery tops, maybe you don't want to add them to your food. You can, but you can take a lot of that kind of stuff and just make it into a broth, whether it be just a vegetable broth or adding it to your bone broth so that you can have a good base for soups and more. So I hope you found this list kind of interesting and fun. Again, there's a lot more out there I could go into detail about, but I just wanted to get this back out here in some form. And any other thoughts, ideas you would like to add to this, please put them in comments down below. And don't forget to check out the other video links I'll be putting in the description box down below. And oh yes, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and to also subscribe to my Rumble and my second YouTube channel called Rain Country 2. Both are linked in the description box down below. That way, if my main channel goes down on YouTube, you'll know that there's still a couple other places you can find my content. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.